ban Leyan's trademark Nidalee, but don't actually have to ban the Lucian because Rare and ban it themselves. They set themselves up for that powerful Wukong first pick, but in response, OMG kind of pick a solution. You know, Senna, Tahm are really strong bot lane, but also you have that safety net against the dive. Rare Adam continue to commit to like sort of dive threats, pick up that Gwen, and then we see Ezreal, which is kind of come up as the counter to Senna, as you have a fairly easy lane into it, you know, and then you scale quite well in the mid game. You really outrange the Senna, and then we are firing off picks so quickly. Looks like OMG considering the Kayle into the Gwen. It's a matchup where you both scale, but the Kayle does outscale. And also, you can kind of just kite the Gwen in a lot of situations and maintain distance. So, pretty solid pick in that regard.
As we get a Bard ban across the board. So maybe we're going to see a bit more flexibility down in the support role at some point, considering it wasn't just only a little pocket coming out the other day. But as we go through support bans, Aux, I'm just going to jump in and say that it feels like, you know, we've got the big power picks here. Walk me through a little bit more about that mid matchup, because we're yet to see anything out of 0909 or Strive, which is our highlight matchup.
Yeah, so I feel like in this situation, OMG have a bit of flexibility because they picked top and they got that counter pick on 3. Yep. They also can potentially have a mid counter pick if they need. You'll see bans coming out directed towards support. They don't want to deal with Yuumi, don't want to deal with Bard. Those, you know, you have the Roman option and the scaling option to pair with the Ezreal. There is still the Rakan, which would obviously be able to assist with those that dive threat. So we could see that come out for Rare Adam. But for now, they're really targeting those jungles. They've taken the Diana away. We'll see what they end up going for as well. We've seen Diana paired up with Set be quite successful. Obviously, Yasuo is the traditional combo. Actually, going to go for the Trundle here, something that can maybe match the Wukong in the early levels pound for pound. There is still the Lee Sin open available. There is still like the Xin Zhao, which is definitely lower priority, still available. Volibear. These picks are all options that could be taken. And actually, something that we've seen a little bit of, in particular, JJ on EDG had a great game on this, specifically into Ezreal, into LWX's Ezreal with the Vi, was able to consistently shut it down. So that will come through as a response to that. Now, where I'm considering support options, Rakan makes sense in my mind as something that can obviously provide that engage. We'll see if they feel similarly.
And you talk about the Rakan, then we're left with mid, so cards have to be put on the table. And I'm curious what Stripe pulls out into this one now. We've been seeing a lot of things like Ari, which is already banned away. Swain, which is still up and available. Swain's just been pummeling teams in the LPL. And even though it's not the greatest win rate, still feels pretty impactful as EpicSkillshot us in their loss. So let's see if this gets locked in here, Aux, because on the other side, what do you start taking into Swain? What do you start looking at for 0909's debut? Because you don't even get the Swain. You're like, hey, play the Ori.
Ends up being the Orianna, something we haven't seen too much, but definitely still a decent blind. One of those control mages coming through. You have a lot of dive threat to set up that shockwave potentially. In response, OMG themselves could take the Swain if they wanted to. They could also take something like a little bit more mobile to try and assist with sort of like these backline dives like the Lissandra. Like you have the Lissandra and the Vi. Very hard for an Orianna to function into that. So much lockdown, so much CC. The Ezreal as well, something that typically is great at outplaying skill shots. Can't do anything against Lissandra and Vi unless you take cleanse, and even then it's got a quite long cooldown. So OMG investing into a lot of single target pick potential here, and very much it feels like Vi and Lissandra, they have those engage tools, but also just playing interruption, because it'll eventually get to the point of this game where Senna will outscale Ezreal, Kayle will outscale everything. Yeah. And it really comes down to protecting these backliners for OMG. But I like that the mid jungle does give them options. They've opted into a mid jungle that can contest. Whereas Rare Adam, I feel like the power curve is a bit more smooth. Their mid game will be absolutely fantastic. Their dive potential is massive. So if Rare Adam do get an early lead coming out here, they should just be able to keep that momentum going. Keep looking for plays, keep trying to make things happen, find flank angles, and be quite successful in that regard. But I do feel like the game has a bit of a timer.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pull that out. You know, Kayle, you already mentioned the center as well. I will say, further to your point, it feels so nice to be a Kayle in that composition. It feels so nice when you have a Lissandra, when you have a Vi, a Tahm Kench as well, that can have multiple options with center, with Kayle depending. So I like that you pointed out the timer here, especially for OMG. On the other side, remind what you just said as well, because RA, the dive ability there, building up a bit of an early lead too. I'm kind of curious about objectives here, Aux, because for me, you know, I see a team with Gwen and Orianna. We've got a Wukong as well. There is a lot of all-in, great R button potential that lay it all together. OMG can get blasted in an instant.
100%. They can easily set up these big dives when it comes to team fights. I think RA, if they can start securing early dragons, those dragon fights will be really threatening. And I think something we're talking about is this Ezreal Senna matchup. So Senna eventually gets to the point where with all the souls, she becomes such a menace in the late game. But for a lot of the game, Ezreal will outrange her. And Ezreal's mid game, everyone knows, really strong. 2-item spike, fantastic. But also, one issue Senna can find is she'll be behind on levels in the mid game. This is less of an issue. She tends to be able to catch up later on in the game when, you know, eventually the enemy AD carry caps out. Level 18 is a long time away. But even when you get to like level 16, level 17, you can gain some ground. But I've seen so many games where like you'll have like a level 10 Senna and like a level 13 Ezreal on the other side. Because obviously Senna isn't farming, won't always be there to pick up waves, or if she is, she'll be sharing experience. And so that can make a massive difference, especially when you think about the durability changes. A lot of the durability changes were armor, HP, and magic resist per level. Senna can be a bit of a liability in the mid game, so that is the pivotal window where RA should be looking to take the lead.
And we'll have to see how it builds up first as well. Further to that, RA, as we walk into this game number 1 between OMG and the formerly mentioned, remember that both these teams took a loss in their first series. Ultra Prime, Anyone's Legend respectively, and looking for the first win of their LPL split. Both teams that were on the edge or either a little bit into playoffs. It's hard when two teams are on different angles. Now, Aux, I wanted to ask you a little bit about runes coming through here. iBoy has gone for the first strike. A lot of the time we've been seeing a lot of pressy attack Ezreal, also sometimes lethal tempo in the past, but not as much anymore. iBoy going for the first strike here, looking to, what, abuse Tahm, Kench, get free gold, free money?
Yeah, I really like the first strike because this lane, you're not going to have too much pressure overall. And it's a better mid-game rune. That's where it really spikes, where you have enough damage to get a lot of gold. But also your ult, it just adds essentially 10% damage onto your ultimate. And that's a really good tool as well for Ezreal's. If you hit her ult onto the Senna, particularly when she's under-leveled, you can poke her out of the lane. So pressy attack is more like an all-in rune, right? Gives you more power in the laning phase, kind of similar to what Conqueror did, except a bit better at the moment. So it makes sense that he's gone for that. I also like Strive going for the cleanse in this situation, having that readily available. What we sometimes see is into Lissandra. We actually saw this, I can't remember which game specifically, but they took TP and then Spellbook and switched to cleanse. I prefer this arrangement because the cleanse is going to be, you want it as much as possible, but when it is down, you can potentially, you know, pick up the TP yourself or other options. Does mean Strive has that flexibility. 0909 has gone for the electrocute, as you expect from the Lissandra in this matchup. Is going to want to try and apply some pressure onto this Orianna early.
Yeah, for his debut performance, we're going to watch 0909 closely as well. You also talked about what mid-jungle could do as well, and looking towards that 6 point, the lockdown is going to be scary. So, yeah, one cleanse coming right up here for Strive as a starter. Now, watch junglers, because Aki is heading towards the bottom side. You can also see Leyan on the opposite side of the map heading upwards, but massive pushes from both top and bottom lane for the opposite ends here, Aux. So, no ganking potentials just yet, but pings around Scuttle, and I guess maybe we'll be looking at mids for both sides. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, Leyan is just trying to provide some support for his mid laner, but ultimately, I think it's very hard to gank Lissandra, especially when you expect Aki to be on the other side. But Aki has positioned himself perfectly. He's supporting his pushing lane, so they have coverage. And, you know, if this had been before 12-10, you might think, oh, what about the Kayle, who's isolated in the top lane? Well, fortunately, with the balance changes, you don't really need to worry. Chances of a dive kind of slim up towards the top side. Now, we do see Aki just going to recall here, but so far, the Tahm and the Senna applying a lot of pressure in this 2v2. If Rakan can find an all-in window into the Senna pre-6 before Tahm Kench has a gobble, they can maybe apply some pressure, but typically it's kind of hard to do, especially with an Ezreal backing you up. So this is kind of just going to be a favored lane towards OMG. Now, something I do want to know is for Shanji, he's gone for the fleet footwork and the ghost. One of the extra movement speed. I talked before about the ability to kite for Kayle in this matchup against Gwen. Gwen takes the ghost herself because she wants to stick onto a target. And if Shanji can maintain distance later in the game, can really give him a lot of power in the matchup.
But for now, look at Cube. I mean, heading up, Shanji running out of mana, and Cube is abusing this. Waiting for the Kayle to come back in and smack her hard. I also want to point out that in this game, you know, we've got ourselves a timer, as Aux said in draft. Remember that. We've got Kayle, we've got Senna. A lot of conditions for OMG that they'll be able to hit no matter what. So already the game's starting out quite slow, and ward coverage by OMG going to help that, tracking out Leyan in his bottom side jungle.
Yeah, getting some extra information, and this is kind of the shift that we've seen with the really powerful towers early. We don't get nearly as much activity in the early levels unless they can find gank windows. tends to just be a bit more farming. I think that'll change when Aki gets level 6.
Okay.
Gives a lot more potential to find something. And ultimately, it may not be the first gank that results in a kill onto Strive. They might just be in the cleanse. But the second will definitely be super threatening. And maybe even the first could be enough if they bring in that Vi ultimate. Such a powerful tool at locking down a target. I will also say, as much as we talk about dives being far harder, OMG actually have a pretty strong composition to set up a dive. You know, they see a window. Lissandra can tank the tower and then use a Glacial Prison on herself to drop aggro, heal up. Tahm Kench can take more tower hits than a typical support with that great health. And obviously, he's going to be quite tanky given that he's the one farming. So there is potential if the opportunity arises, but ultimately, teams still so wary of those powerful towers. Naki is just going to start up that dragon.
It'd be pretty insane. Like, the second turret hit hurts so much. First one feels normal. The second is just so bizarre with the damage it puts out. So, yeah, we've seen a little bit less, but still, it's the LPL. You kind of expect some of those shenanigans to happen. As the dragon starts, though, bringing it on track. It's been a slow early game, folks, but again, no ultimates available yet, and ultis do feel like what we're going to talk a hell of a lot about in this first game. For now, it is just OMG getting the Ocean Dragon to kick things off, and Leyan just hovering nearby in case it turns into anything else bot.
Yeah, and honestly, this is fantastic for OMG. We said before, time in the game, any dragons you pick up early on, basically just add time to the game. Obviously, if RA go for the soul as a win condition, they are now 20 minutes away from the earliest soul. So just delays that, and that's assuming OMG don't get a single another dragon, which honestly there's a chance they get more. I will say as well, first dragon is an ocean, second is a cloud. It's either going to be a Hextech Mountain or Infernal Soul. All three very powerful and will make a big difference in terms of dictating the outcome of this game. For now, no more action coming in. Aki is approaching that level 6 point that we're highlighting though, and it'll be interesting to see where he opts to go for with that cooldown.
So let's flip it on the other side. Tell me a little bit more about what RA do, because they're hitting that 6 point as well. Strive now level 7, Shockwave available, Cube has Needlework, Leyan just marked 6, so the Cyclone's there. I want you to tell me a little bit about how RA can speed up the pace of this game and actually force OMG to overstep their bounds.
But I think if you find a numbers advantage set up for an objective like Herald, you can absolutely bring in the likes of, you know, like Rakan syncing with Ori, with Wukong. Could be super powerful around those Herald fights. But there is also the potential just to wait a little bit longer until iBoy is online. But personally, I wouldn't be against them going for the Herald if they can find a window in. I feel like that's where they might be a good match. Bear in mind, Kayle, although she's hit that level 6, isn't the most formidable opponent at this point. And I think RA do want to be finding some momentum. So we do see Yuyanjia moving from bot lane. But if you look in response, OMG have actually sent both of their bot laners over to respond to this Herald. So personally, I think RA, you can kind of show some resistance around here. Don't get baited into the fight unnecessarily, and just try and pick up some plates in the bot lane. Get iBoy closer to his spike. I will say, though, losing out in this Herald definitely hurts quite a bit for them.
Yeah, what lane would you put this in as well? Because for OMG, so many options here, Orcs, and you know, Cold denying a little bit of the turret plating. iBoy might be able to step up in a second, pull out that 160 gold, but
yeah,
for now, that's no trade.
No place taken. Really rough for RA. So OMG very happy with how this early game's gone. I feel like taking down the mid tower can open up the map quite a bit, but obviously it's reliant on you getting both the first and second Herald. Like first Herald, typically you're not going to find a window to get that mid tier 1. What I kind of like is giving gold over to the Senna, because Senna obviously is quite gold starved with his fasting build. Definitely a potential to set it up, and we do see them heading towards the bot lane.
Yeah, that's a Vault Breaker getting charged up onto Leyan. Doesn't get over the wall and has to flash as well with the Cyclone out. Burns the Summoner being caught out for an invade after the Herald he thought was a safe play.
And honestly, I think now you know Leyan doesn't have ult, doesn't have flash, is chunked out, not in a position to contest.
Yeah.
This is a scenario where you could potentially set up to go for the Herald, but it looks like Aki is just going to continue his clear for now. Like I said, giving the gold to Abel would be fantastic. A lot of people look at the Kayle and think, well, wouldn't you want to give gold to the Kayle? Well, absolutely, golden Kayle is nice, but also Kayle is quite experience dictated, so really waiting for those levels more than anything. Not that the gold would be bad, but we'll see what Aki does up to do. Ultimately, finding a window to get the most value possible is the big thing. And we do see Abel finding a window here, should be able to pick up this plate. And again, as I said, a lot of extra gold for that Senna goes a long way.
Also coming back to what you're talking about with Shanji's Kayle, staying in the laning phase a little bit longer when you're going up against a Wukong, a Gwen, right? No long lane, I should say. feels pretty nice to continue this status quo that he's built up in the top side, because Shanji's only about 7, 8, 9, 10 CS at max behind the Gwen. And right now, you know, feeling pretty good here for OMG. They might only be 500 gold behind, but the way this game's going, with the objectives already taken, with the Kayle farming up, with Senna down in the bottom lane having a good time harassing too, feels like for RA, they're getting in more and more trouble every 10 minutes we pass, Orcs.
Yeah, and my big question is around this dragon, because we see, if you look at the minimap, OMG very much set up for this spawning in 40 seconds. We are going to see Leyan reset and he can head down towards this, but OMG already doing a great job of setting it up. Could even lean bot lane if we see iBoy and Yuyanjia overstep. They are a very mobile bot lane, typically very safe, but this is Lissandra, Vi, all that point and click, at least going to make them higher than the tower. I'll see, Aki is just going to channel a reset and go back with that Rift Herald. We'll see if this gives RA an opportunity to move in on this dragon. Pings are coming out. I think if you don't get this dragon, the Soul win con is going to be pushed back so far. Over 30 minutes for RA if they don't get this one. And I think they have to try and make this happen.
I mean, Strive still has the cleanse, and he just base too. So while RA coming back out on the map, there's no mid laner there for Rare Adam. Top side doesn't have teleport. Shanji without his, but it's still a Kayle. So OMG start up this dragon, but 0909's over the wall. He'll be here before RA's mid laner with a glacial path. He flashes in, puts him in their place. The prison down. The tomb enabled, and iBoy running for the hills. But the Vault Breaker and Assault and Battery for Arky's first blood. RA in shambles.
0909 finding a great window, and those are the tools we talked about to shut down iBoy. The double point and click means he has no opportunity to outplay. It's only one kill for OMG, but they get the dragon, and they're going to put that Herald down bot, so Abel going to get a bunch of extra gold, which is the important one, is spread around between Cold and Aki. So pretty fantastic now. 0909 could be in trouble.
Yeah, Shockwave puts him against the wall. Strive wants a solo kill here with the command attack. He gets it, but under turret, it ramps up. Welcome to the LPL. I think he's going to fit in quite nicely here.
Yeah, doing a good job. Honestly, punished there by Strive. Little bit of a misplay for 0909, but he turns it around, manages to get that route. As you said, the tower hits ramp up, and it's a 1-for-1. Even the Frozen Thrall helps to clear out the minions as well, so not even missing too much. He is down in CS, but Strive, someone who we said is such a proficient laner, I think 0909 is getting more value out of this game so far. Ultimately, this Orianna will be a pivotal piece of RA's late game, but for now, OMG can be really happy with how the game's going. All
right, replay time. Walk me through the bottom lane, because 0909 set this up nicely.
Yeah, I do think the Claw could have been a bit further behind them, as you know they're going to back up when they see it, but he goes for the flash route, gets the ultimate as well. Then Aki using all his mobility to close the gap, and there's nothing iBoy can do in that situation. Really powerful there. Now 0909 could be in trouble.
Well, maybe not.
Oh, wait, he's playing Lissandra.
Hey, he gets out. Who knew that was possible? Leyan tries, but it's so hard at this point. Now, Orcs, I need you to tell me a little bit more about what's going to go on from here, because Strive Leyan moving up to the top side, but Shanji's safe too. He even got a bit of turret plating on Kayle.
Yeah.
There's two dragons for OMG. Like, this is so rough to watch. What's happening in the bottom side? That's where the flash went for iBoy? Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, my God. Licky Tongue just pretty much 1v1'd him.
I don't 909 with another roam. Has the CC, the layering. Don't think they'll be able to kill Yuyanjia, but zones him off the tower, and that's going to be first tower taken. Look at all that gold for the Senna. Someone who we typically say really struggles to pick up that gold when you're playing that fasting build. So a lot of value there. Aki's going to cover mid, and I think 0909... Sure, Strive has that lading prowess. He's up in farm, but this Lissandra constantly moving, finding these great angles. And considering we said the Vi and the Lissandra with the early game assurance for OMG, but RA needed a spike in the mid game. OMG, 2k gold up, 2 dragons in pocket. This is fantastic for them so far.
It's so well played. Changing out Cream here, and this game 1 has been a massive success. Cold as well coming back in. Like, what an absolute chat here on the Tahm Kedge. At the 1-0 start, he's got a Frost Gauntlet in his back pocket, and even though RA may be on an objective finally now, still far behind with a composition that needs to get moving. Now, Orcs, a fight's coming up, and OMG aren't scared to take it.
Yeah, they should feel confident. They're up in gold. They've been performing well in these fights. RA are trying to posture for this one, and look at Yuyanjia on the flank, but he's been spotted.
Yeah, he has, and he's been bursted out a little bit to start it off. Already the True Shot Rush flies through. Leyan, though, gonna get stolen! Arky didn't even get
disaster.
that close to it. The Assault and Battery is ready as the Shockwave brings in two. It's Abel and Cole. The flash, the Cyclone, good. Leyan finally switching on. The knock up there from Yuyanjia, great as well as Leyan keeps on going. Shanji now caught up. It looked horrible again for RA, but it's those wombos, man, that hurts so deep.
And that's the mid-game team fighting from RA that we could see perform the backline access. And Leyan, someone we praise so heavily as being a pivotal piece for Rare Adam, finds the engage. Not only do they get that team fight, they get the mid tower. Yes, they missed out on the Herald. They did actually deny OMG from picking it up themselves, so not too big of a loss. And look at Strive. You know, we've been praising 0909, but this is 172 CS in this Orianna, 3-1-2. And he is an absolute monster here. But look at Leyan. At this point, OMG, walk away. You don't need to be here. I know they want the Herald, but it's not that big of a deal. They keep posturing. The shockwave from Strive, massive to catch them. And that gives the window for Leyan to go in. And importantly, Cold, because he gets locked down, isn't able to eat up the Senna.
I mean, it's just amazing to see it all come together finally for RA. We were ragging on them a little bit because this game just looked so easy for OMG to pace out, but as you said, sticking around too long, one crucial mistake from OMG, and now RA with the gold lead. And a 3-1-2 Orianna. I love that he pulled out the CS numbers, that he is ahead of the clock by quite a big amount. We were talking a little bit about Strive versus 0909, but now with the extra 2 kills, now with 2 items, RA have their mid-game Orcs. What do you do with laning phase now finished and 17 minutes into the game, and a Dragon now finally going into their back pocket? How do you emphasize this as we just saw in that last play?
Well, I think you can start setting up for these plays. You can see them leaning down. It's going to be a trade of towers. We saw Shanji take one on the top side. They will answer here. Ultimately, you've taken this bot tier 1. You've taken the mid tier 1. Top might be the next objective on the cards, but you want to have this opened up map and start fishing for these opportunities. Now you feel like you're more in control. You have Ezreal closing on that 2-item spike. Yep. This is where you can really find some momentum in the game, and you need to really establish control now and continue. Because, you know, they have time. The Orianna isn't really going to fall off, but I'm just concerned about the Kayle, the Senna. As we get into the deep late game, will become really problematic. Level 16 for Kayle, and just, you know, the Senna is infinitely scaling. That range will become obnoxious at some point. So for now, RA, maintain vision control, set up well for these objectives, and pick fights. That next Dragon in 4 minutes, if OMG up to contest it and you win a team fight, that could just lead to Baron. That could be the potential opportunity, but RA, that team fight was so important for them, a much needed win in this game.
Otherwise, we'd just fall into the wayside. Completely agree. So for now, RA, when you talked about vision, start heading up towards the top side and clearing out some of OMG's defensive line. And you can see already that Leyan is pathing upwards, but 0909, big mistake as the Glacial Tomb locks himself down, but Strive's there waiting the path out, but Yuyanjia off the side. Everfrost zones him, but doesn't get the kill. Yuyanjia was close, but not close enough. Instead, RA after the pick, they're going to get the turret as well.
Yeah, a really nice play from RA. You know, they have the bot lane pushed in from taking that tower. They then reset on that side, commit onto this side of the map. Anyone who shows up, this time was 0909, they heavily commit to. They don't end up killing him, but it's not important. They zone him away, and that allows them to secure that top tower. So now they've taken those 3 out of towers quite quickly. A lot of gold in pocket, and the map opened up. You know, they can push in deeper. As a result, set up vision. And something that's very important for this lineup of RA, something I highlighted is, for OMG, the backline wants to be protected. You know, Kayle and Senna able to fire off at max range and not really be threatened by the Wukong or the Rakan or the Gwen. Those Hex Gates can make such a massive difference. It's just easy access to flanks for multiple members on the side of RA, so allows creative options to get in onto this OMG lineup. And I hope to see RA looking to utilize those when they're trying to approach these team fights.
I mean, especially since we've got a Dragon in 2 minutes 30. So looking forward to that one. 30 seconds till the Baron as well. But RA maintaining that 1k gold lead for now. They picked up that Dragon before as well. And again, worth noting with what we set as the conditions all game long. Aki hovering to the wing. He wants a pick. And OMG, you mentioned in Draft Orcs, they have very good singular pick potential. Now maybe trying to utilize that as they start losing control.
Yeah, if they find a window, especially to burn summoners before that Dragon, that could be the window to fight it. Oh, but Cold might be in trouble. Okay. Looks like he built to ward it away. So, like, there's if you look across, there's all summoners available for RA. Yuyanjia's flash is just coming up. If you go for a fight, it can be quite difficult dealing with those summoners. So 2 minutes before an objective is when you can start a fight, Just a short one. You end up getting those summoners. As long as you don't lose too hard, they want Baron, and then those won't be available for the dragon while your ults will come back off cooldown. But that time is kind of being missed away. So I think now it starts to talk about the setup for the objective. And something I want to say, I want to make very clear.
Yep.
OMG don't need to fight this dragon. OMG can just let this dragon go.
True.
It's the second for RA. It really doesn't matter. The earliest RA is going to get a soul is like 32 minutes. You can just sack this. So going into this dragon, we want to see how OMG approach it. And if it's a bad setup, just remember they didn't have to go for it.
Okay, well, I hope they take those words of advice. For now, though, it's the Baron bait that RA are trying to play with until that dragon comes up. No vision on the neutral objective until that Scrying Lord comes through, but it's control. Arky is being very patient off to the wing here, but for OMG, they don't really know what's going on. I mean, Leyan's going to clear this out. Threaten once again. And Strive is just hovering over, waiting for that perfect shockwave to be hand-delivered to him. They're even starting the Baron for now, whether it's a turn or not.
Yeah, so they'll get vision. We'll see them back away. Ultimately, RA playing around with that one, but you really don't want to get stuck in the pit against the Lissandra Vi. So just trying to bait with the Baron to try and start a fight. It won't happen, though. 30 seconds still Dragon, and the control of the area around Dragon is better for OMG, but still quite sparse for both teams. We'll see if they can establish more now. Cube does have to be a little bit careful here, but will be able to back away. And OMG just backing away from this Dragon. Looks like they're not giving too much effort in to try and contest it. Personally, I think this is the right call.
Yeah, honestly, again, we talked about the pacing coming through. Arky just going to get himself out. Leyan still looking for that pick. Back over to the Dragon. Now, anyone who's sitting there going 8 kills, 21 minutes, 22 minutes, fear not. We do have a Kayle who is level 14, 2 items now picked up. It's not the Shy's crown build, so I think we can be okay.
Thank the Lord.
Oh, man. There was a lot of YouTube comments on that one. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, I can bet.
It was something else, but again, the Shy, different story. Shanji going a bit out of the textbook for this game. And look, he's got a bounty on his head as well. That's how much CS he has. We're talking a lot about Strive's numbers on this Orianna. And even though Shanji's not that far ahead of Cube, 243 CS at 22 minutes. Big numbers to hold by.
As well.
Yeah.
There's a gold bounty just off the CS now. OMG, they not only backed away from the Dragon, they try to contest some vision around the Baron area. RA once again trying to set up for it, but I just want you to hone in on the early Dragons, how much that has meant for OMG. Now, RA could have had soul if they'd secured them. They're going to try and start this Baron to bait a fight, but OMG ready to respond, and this is a precarious position to be in for RA.
Yeah, it is, but Strive turning off for now. Cyclone early, true shot barrage. There's the charm on the back line. 0909's caught out, and OMG are going to let him go. It's a double. Zonya's coming through. In fact, no. They saved their brother. Cold eats him up as the Glacial pass over the wall, but not taken. Everything's down. They stop the Baron. They burn a couple of ultis and a summoner to boot.
Yeah, fantastic play from OMG. We can't have the double Zonyas anymore. No Zonyas in a stopwatch, but he uses his self-ult, and then the Zonyas able to do that himself. And the most important thing off this play is OMG hold their nerve. Shanji does not TP in. Waits, wants to see what's going on. They decide the fight isn't going to continue. They can get 0909 out. The Baron isn't continue. Alright, use all of their tools. And the Kayle level 15 now.
Yep.
iBoy, again, this is his big spike. 2 items, has the QSS. Ahead of Abel in experience was 2 levels, just closed down to 1, but not much. But eventually the Senna is going to get more and more value. You can see this Tahm Kench as well with that extra gold input. 2 items, quite a beefy boy. And OMG are just doing a fantastic job of stalling this game out, waiting until Shanji becomes a monster, until Abel really comes online. And you can feel RA know they're on a timer, as we talked about. They are trying to make this happen, trying to set up the plays, and it hasn't worked yet.
And I mean, going to be delayed by an extra couple of minutes until they can try and bait the Baron again. Vision's been mainly cleared and set up by OMG around the pit. And we've got 2 minutes 45 to wait for that Dragon. Aux coming towards the 3rd Dragon. I mean, you said OMG didn't have to fight for the last one. They played the patient game in this rather slow game. Is that another option to play through again, or do you just keep baiting Baron over and over and hoping OMG fall for it?
I feel like RA, you know, even if they get this next Dragon, which there's a good chance they do, OMG can decide if they want to fight it. Depends maybe on whether the Kayle gets level 16. I think it's not going to fix everything, right? You don't get that power until the 4th Dragon. Still another 7 minutes from now, so much time. Kayle absolutely going to be level 16 at that point. And now OMG looking for a heavy play through bot. Both have TP and can join the Baron. You do see RA have started up though, so there is a timer potentially coming in on this bot lane play.
And they need fresh vision on the pit as well for Cole to move in and get that. It's going to be pretty hard as Abel starts moving up as well. It's a 3-man squad at 4K now with the teleport channeling through from 0909. He's joined in 4 versus 4 as Baron aggro is halted, kept up a little bit by iBoy, but he's at half HP.
Yeah, and Aki could get into the pit. Engage comes in.
Leyan going to start it up. True Shot Barrage as well on the backside. Abel heals up, but Baron has been de-aggroed and healed up.
Over the flank.
You wanted to see this, Aux, and now for 0909, the Glacial Present taken and set down for the tomb. Leyan's caught out in the newbie on OMG doing work on this Lissandra again. No one dies, but RA will have to reset once more, and the clock keeps ticking.
Not quite enough to get the fight going, but something pivotal is that they actually get Cube to burn his TP. Yeah. Originally, Shanji burned his, and there wasn't the follow-up from RA. They were happy to disengage. 0909's forcing that play meant that Cube matched, but now going into that dragon fight, Cole does not have his flash available. Abel, who we've seen RA really work to punish, does not have the flash available. 2 levels down in the Ezreal. We do see the Rylai's. It's a level 16 for Shanji. Yep. He has the Rylai's. He has the Wit's End. He has the Riftmaker. This is a very strong Kayle. We'll see if OMG now feel like it is the time to contest this dragon. They don't have to necessarily. They could give this one up. It's still 1 more for Soul, but they may feel like they are now powerful enough with that Kayle level 16 to look for something. May want to deny that Soul point, and they are trying to find priority mid. We'll see what RA can do to stop this.
And Eclipse just picked up as well, worth noting here for Abel. So 2 items Senna. We're getting a long path as well with the Morel and Omicron. Oblivion Orb, excuse me. So OMG with some stronger items. The Shanji doesn't take too much, but Abel does. iBoy still hurting like a bit of a truck here in the mid game as OMG reclaim their path towards the Baron. They're going to start this off, Aux, and they do it pretty quick with a Kayle and Senna.
Yeah, and very tanky members with Cold on the Tahm Kench, so they can safely start this. I don't think they want to flip this one, but maybe they do. RA have to push it, moving in. Shirley has popped.
Being very patient. Leyan now over the wall. Cyclone very early at 4.7k. Leyan keeps it aggroed as Strive's helping out too. It sits at 4 though, and for OMG playing with time, the Cyclone is now down. 0909 once again with the Glacial Path. His flash is available and it's burnt to a crisp. He gets a pick down and straight away into the backside as well with the Sultan Battery. OMG going in deep. Arky a bit too deep, and he's punished for it, but Shanji still full HP, and the shockwave coming through means nothing. 0909 securing himself a bit of a health bar too, and they're chasing this up. True Shot Barrage might slow that down. It's messy, but OMG still making sure no one gets the Baron, not even themselves.
So scrappy from OMG, and it feels so split. 0909 engaging on one side, Aki flash engaging on the other. It's so divided between them. Ultimately, Aki goes down. It's not enough of an advantage for RA to look for the Baron, but they'll easily sweep up that dragon. 28 minutes 20. We'll be looking at a 34-minute Soul if RA can secure the second one. But what's this play, right? I think it's just so divided. I like the decision for OMG. Leave Leyan in the pit, let him tank, but then they go for the engage here onto the Gwen. Doesn't quite work. And then look at the other side. Aki solo engaging onto Strive, ends up getting crucified, and Shanji doesn't burn the Kayle ultimate. He doesn't really care for his jungle. He's like, I am level 16 Kayle. My ultimate is for me. And as a result, RA know they can't really commit to this fight. You don't want to run into that Kayle who still has the ultimate available. It's enough to ward them off the Baron. But RA, they do get the dragon in pocket. But we are approaching critical mass at this point. Abel 3 levels down on iBoy. This is the XP difference I was talking about earlier. Now Aki could be in trouble.
Yeah, he's just walked into his jungle thinking it's still his, but RA lying in wait. True Shot Barrage didn't tag him though. So Aki lives on to tell the tale, but with no jungler, with a low health HP bar, RA start the Baron again, Aux.
Yeah, does have a Dead Man's Plate and the Hex Gates to get him there a little bit quicker, but this is going so fast. OMG need to try and fight them off this one, but time's running out.
Yeah, big steal needs to come through, but not from the jungle. The Glacial Path in, 0909 can't do it. And OMG now for the chase, though, is RA with a numbers advantage, but they're running the opposite way. Cube as well has to run away from Abel. iBoy might be in a pinch with Aki chasing up. There's no Assault and Battery available as they need to work zones through. Leyan is the risky one as 09 jumps in once more, but iBoy has the range. True Shot Barrage hurts like a truck in the face, but no one dies. RA with the Baron, they get out of there. still going to be a net positive for the team that is running out of time.
Fantastic play from RA, and I love the fact they just don't let Shanji function. Every time he tries to get into these fights, they're disengaging, they're running away. Yuyanjia is doing a fantastic job of peeling 0909 and shutting him down. And RA, as time is taken away, find the opportunity. They get the Baron in pocket. This should help them crack some of these tier 2 towers, get some extra gold. And I am looking at that timer for the next Dragon. Soul, with you look at how well RA are kiting, the Soul could make such a big difference now. You're looking at Leyan and Yuyanjia again working together to find a pick. They won't get anything. But look at how they set up the lanes. So they're pushing up this mid priority, trying to support this Baron wave. In the meantime, Cube is pushing in this wave bot. They will rotate through the jungle to match this wave and try and crash it in to take that bot tier 2. You can see already Aki trying to push to defend, but because everyone's moving down, that leaves mid a little bit exposed. Cube looking now.
We'll see if he can find anything, because Aki was waiting in the bush. It was a bait, a ruse, and a lockdown tomb again. Big shutdown. Cube by himself. They found a nice little window, and RA now suddenly the Baron is slowed down.
Massively slowed down. Cube does have teleport, but by the time he's up, by the time he gets back on the map, that Baron is going to basically be expired. So they get one tower. That's all they get for the Baron. They obviously get the gold from it itself and the experience, not to be ignored, but it's still a lot less than RA maybe would have hoped for. It's that Dragon in a minute 50. That is the next big objective. Sorry, yeah, that they want to play for. The Dragon Soul potentially. Now Aki has found Leyan.
Yeah, that's going to be a Vault Breaker into Leyan. Why is he here? There's a Kayle in front of him. Level 18 as well. With the Fiendish Codex, no 4th item just yet, but this might open up the window into bottom side. Aki saving his winged beast and making sure no harm comes to him. Shanji with 600 gold and 18 out of 18, guys. Sorry, the clock doesn't go any higher. We don't push it up. It's literally max level Kayle with 365 CS at 32 minutes.
Yeah, pretty strong. I think it goes without saying. Doesn't yet have the Nash's Tooth. Would like to see that come in. Obviously, this is an AP Kayle, but did go for that Wit's End for the laning power, that extra magic resist. But ultimately, team fights are very much around Shanji right now. Able, despite the fact he's got a fair bit of souls, still 3 levels down on iBoy. It's expected for the fasting Senna, but this is kind of still being down that far in levels, thanks to the fact RA got the Baron, doesn't help. And you're looking at iBoy with those true shot barrages. If you land on Able, it does like 50-60% of his HP. But now that you can see RA setting up pretty heavily around this Dragon area, a lot of deep vision. And the question is, how are OMG going to contest this one? Moving through the fog of war, so risky against this composition from RA.
I mean, Abel's going to stick close to cold. As you see, level 12 versus level 15. You've been comparing 80 carry levels all game here, Orcs, and Abel is so darn squishy. And now I want to point out, while we're quickly talking about Shanji, he's got Zhonya's for this upcoming fight, but no Nash's Tooth. Very defensive for a team with a Tahm, Kench, and I guess a Lissandra at Vi by your side. We'll see how much damage he puts out as we start walking into River. And Orcs, Dragon's now up in 1. This will be Soul if RA get it.
And honestly, a true-shot barrage not doing nearly as much damage as it was before.
That's true.
Able, not being chunked out that much, able to heal it back up now. Team's posturing. Look at 0909. He's the one who's been trying to find the flanks, and they have vision off RA right now. No one on that team looking for flank angles, but they're looking to burst this Dragon.
And it's going down pretty quick. I mean, OMG going to move on it immediately. Who gets the Soul coming through? It is actually RA who picked it up with the Hextech Soul in hand. 0909 gets in the back line and is interrupting 3 people. Shanji at full HP, and Orcs, I'm watching with bated breath, because if iBoy steps in range, he's dead. 0909 will not take the Glacial Path, but iBoy is stepping forward again. They lose the Soul. OMG do not have themselves another chance. That is iBoy over the wall. You devil, he's a newbie. Stop bullying the child.
Really making things difficult for 0909. It's a heavy engage from OMG. They want to start the fight. They want to give space, give time to Kayle. But ultimately, it's a 1-for-1, and RA secured the Hextech Soul. Massive factor in this one. When we talk about the kiting potential, the fact that Kayle, all she needs to do is be in range to hit targets. The slow from the Hextech Soul will make a difference. So we see this one. We see OMG move in so aggressively. Aki nowhere near the Dragon for the smite. Goes so deep. And Yuyanjia again, fantastic job on the Rakan. Peeling there, creating space. He does go in to buy time for Leyan and ends up trading his life. But at this point, how can they follow up, right? Shanji can't get in range. The Hextech Soul help him with the kiting. 0909 throws down the claw, but if you take that, it's certain death. And iBoy, this is such a risky play. There's still ops to go for it. No vision.
Mr. Q.
Why not?
Oh, man. I mean, I respect it, you know. From iBoy to iChat in a single play as RA want to keep giggering it up as Yuyanjia is first over the wall, but he takes a big response damage as he's devoured too. Leyan saving his support as iBoy comes in once again. The Chad's returned. This Ezreal may be mid-game focused, but Aux, he hurts so much. OMG have walked in piece by piece without the Kayle, without the Vi, and now they're exposed.
It just completely lost. The Kayle's not there. The only champion on your team, really, at this point of the game. He's so much stronger than everyone else. 50% of your lineup not there. And OMG try with a fight, and RA there now looking to end.
I mean, how? Like, OMG have got a Kayle. They've got a max range Kayle here as the ultimate's finally used. I think that's the first time I've seen it. Aki survives, but now Shanji doesn't have it for himself. This is half HP. Cubes running in under turret. OMG have botched this game, Aux, and RA have taken out of their sweaty palms. Aki is the last person alive as Cold may now respawn. RA can't finish here, but it certainly feels like OMG are in death's door.
Yeah, respawn's coming in. We'll be able to defend, so they bought time there. But ultimately, with the Kayle down, there's no way you contest this Baron, I would think. Health bars are low. And it looks like they're gonna... Aki, what are you doing?
Okay, well, Aki says, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go towards Baron. iBoy autos in for the final hurrah as it's a knock-up once again, but returned in favor on top of Cold.
Okay.
0909 goes down. Cold is going to be next. OMG. Hey, Aux, it's in the name.
Yeah, they're done with this game. And I just got to say... RA, they knew how to team fight in this one. That composition definitely easy to execute. It's go in, pop your buttons, pressure R's, make it happen, and they definitely able to perform. We hit critical mass with the Kayle, and even that wasn't enough. Level 18 full items Kayle, not enough to win you the game. Then I don't know what will, and RA will take this game one.
Well, that was something. Hey, that was really something, Aux, and
that was a ride.
God. Hey, we had concerns about Aki. You know, again, we talked a lot about him in the last split. We had a lot of concerns about OMG. And remember, folks, this is kind of what we remember. Like, OMG had a really brilliant starting run. And then they came up against opponents like... I can't remember the RA series, Aux. Like, honestly, I don't have enough brain cells to remember how it went in spring. But, you know, OMG struggled against a lot of mid-tier to top-tier opponents. And kind of came apart at the seams, like I would say... is what happened in this first game.
Yeah, I feel like OMG, a lot of their spring was punching down. I feel like, you know, we saw a lot of upsets during spring, but a lot of the time it felt like OMG were able to dispatch the teams low in the standings than them. Yeah. Didn't hold up as well as some of the stronger lineups. And I think ultimately RA, you know, it wasn't a flawless game. The early game gave OMG so much space. I think OMG played it correctly in the mid game, but it was the execution of these fights. And I think, you know, 0909, as much as it had a solid performance, started to struggle. Being that primary engage. Him and, I was about to say JJ, but I was about to say, it was not JJ, right? Yeah. Aki on the Vi, nothing like JJ. He had a rough game when he played it, but at the end of the game, it was him and Scout diving LWX and Ezreal that made them come back into that game. We didn't get the same here, right? It felt like on different fronts sometimes for the engage, felt like too deep, not creating space. And as a result, it felt so... off kilter. And in fairness, right, this is a new mid laner onto the roster. Yeah. Obviously, the assumption is he'll be scrimming a bit with the team, but still not as ingrained as Cream. But it definitely felt like the team just wasn't on the same page when it came to those late game fights, and that is really where RA picked them apart.
Yeah, and look, honestly, like from what we just saw as well, you know, OMG, whether it is the new mid laner coming in or whether it is OMG still suffering from the same issues, it was a pretty clean early game decision-making in the early game. And, you know, what we saw with the early Dragons, OMG was so set up for that game to be a pretty calm win. But,
yeah, that's damage.
That's,
Wait, I mean, it's not quite, but iBoy nearly doing as much damage as all of OMG together. Nearly. Not quite, but nearly. That is...
the fact that it's close
Ezreal,
is
right?
Pretty disgusting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he found the momentum on this pick, just did so much damage, so much poke onto OMG, and ultimately they just weren't able to threaten him. I was, you know, questioning the fact iBoy didn't have cleanse, might be a problem later on, but picked up that early QSS, and it just meant he felt untouchable. We saw the Kayle hit critical mass, but it wasn't enough. And I also want to credit Yuyanjia, by the way, on this Rakan. he was the thorn in OMG's side when
He
it came to
was.
these engages. Every time Vi